Today I want to talk to you about our plan. This is going to work every single time you're drawing. It's going to help your brain get organized, help you feel calm, like you can be successful. And the very first tool you need is this. Did you bring this with you today? Because one of the things that's really important is that you do finger tracing around whatever it is that you're working on. Because when you do finger tracing, it really helps your brain to understand the form, the line. Finger measurement, again, this is going to help you. It's like a building block. How big is it? This big. How big is it? How long is it? How wide is it? All of these things are to help you measure and get things in the right place. So finger tracing, finger measurement. You're also going to think about which way would your artwork fit best on your paper. This way, this way. Some people call it hot dog and hamburger. You guys probably already know it's portrait and landscape. Landscape is like the land is traveling across. Portrait is more this way, that it would fit the head and the shoulders. So your plan that you're always going to use before the pen or the paint is finger tracing, finger measurement, paper direction. The next thing that's going to help you is to think about visualizing what's going to be. Where am I going to put things? I use my finger again and I go on my paper and kind of trace it out so I can begin to see what will be. And that finger tracing, the finger measurement, and that practice drawing with your fingertip helps you get organized and get things in the right place instead of being in a rush to get started. So we're always going to use that plan. It works on pretty much every project. The plan: finger trace, finger measure, paper direction. Pattern in nature. One of those patterns is symmetry. This week's lesson is about symmetry. The right side of the pattern or the object is exactly the same as the left side of the pattern when things are the same from side to side. So that's what we're looking for in the butterfly, because they do have shapes that are the same from side to side. As an artist, this really helps us in our planning. Look for symmetry. Where can you see it? You guys have taught me so much about the butterfly. When I was little, I thought it was a worm that just went into the cocoon and grew some wings. But then I found out more. I found out that the whole caterpillar liquefies and grows back again from one central point and grows out in a symmetrical manner, the same from side to side. Isn't it amazing? Every time I work with students, I find out something new about the butterfly. Do you remember this creepy picture? I think that thing is called the proboscis. I said the tongue, but one of my students corrected me. And it goes way down into the deep flower to get nectar. And how about this camouflage to make it look like the eyes of a bigger beast and scare away any predators? Remember, we're going slow in the beginning because we're not sure where we're going. And we're not going to be pressing down hard, again, because we're not sure where we're going. So we're just trying to start very slowly, and we're trying to use very light pressure. We're also going to start with a very light color. As we try this today, let's be patient with ourselves. And remember, we might get some lines in the wrong place, but we're just going to keep going. We're not trying to be perfect. Today we're going to use the watercolor paper made from the cotton plant because it's a strong paper. It works well with heavy pressure, which we'll use at the end, and it also works well if we spray it with water for the watercolor. Every time we do art, we're thinking about composition, the position of where to place things. When we visualize where to put our butterfly, try and get the wings to touch each side of the paper. We don't want a little tiny one. We want it big enough that we can fit the design in. So today when you're doing your finger tracing, finger measurement as your preparation before you start with the pen or the paint, do this finger visualization, plan your space. So with my watercolor paper, I'm going to tape down the corners, and then I'm going to start my finger tracing and finger measurement. This is a picture that I put in your art materials box. So you have an actual picture that you can touch with your finger. That's really helpful.
Alright guys, tip of the day. So you're gonna start with a very light color. Like, I don't know, like whatever light color you could see. And say for the black.
Relax if you get a line in the wrong place. That's just part of starting artwork. It happens to every artist. So here you can see after I did my finger tracing and finger measurement, I tried to get the wings to touch each side of the paper, and I'm starting with a yellow crayon. You can be using pastels or crayons today. I know my butterfly isn't going to be yellow, but I'm starting with yellow because if I don't like some of the lines, I can just ignore them. So I'm starting with a light color, and I do the whole drawing lightly. Then I can go on to other colors, I can make corrections. A lot of people want to start with black. You're going to save that for last. Remember, that's the tip of the day. And when you start with black, that color, if you have a line in the wrong place, is impossible to ignore or change. That's why we're starting with a light color, even though it's not the color of your butterfly. This is self-corrective drawing. You correct yourself each time you go to a darker color. Ignore the light colors underneath that you do not care for. Just trace over with a darker color the lines you like and correct yourself. I have an artist joke for you. What happens if you have a line you don't like on one side? Make it symmetrical. Put the shape on the other side also, and no one will know. Do you get the joke? It's a way to fix a line that you don't like when things are symmetrical. Just add it to the other side. No one's going to see this picture, this photograph of the butterfly that you're looking at. They're just going to look at your artwork and think it's amazing. I know my butterfly, when I look at this, is not completely symmetrical. One wing looks thicker than the other wing, well, thicker than the picture too. But remember, we're just using this photograph as a way to get ideas about the shapes that are on the butterfly wing. We're not trying to match it exactly. Once you have your colors done, you're going to get into the black. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot something. I wanted to blend all of this first, so I'm picking a clean finger and just doing a little bit of rubbing because I like the way that looks. Maybe you don't want to do that. It's up to you. This drawing takes a long time. You're doing slow and careful work. Just think this video has been sped up. So do some, you could take a break, you can come back to it. Just take your time and do your personal best. I keep looking at the picture sometimes when I'm not sure what to do because it will give me a great idea on the shapes that are in the butterfly. I might not get them exactly the same as the photograph, but it helps to give me ideas. And that careful looking is really important. That's part of being patient with your drawing, taking a break to do careful looking, get some of your own ideas. Some of you may remember I'm a shy artist. I don't like to share my work a lot, and I especially don't do it when I'm teaching other people about art because I don't want them to look at my work and stop doing their own work. Remember, I've been doing art for a very long time. I practice every day just like an instrument, and I get better. What I really get better at is being more patient with myself and not getting so frustrated. I told you how I used to get upset a lot, and I didn't want to practice quitting. I didn't want to practice being upset. So I'm getting better because I'm just more patient. But I want you to remember that you are starting out with your artwork, and your artwork is beautiful. And also it's beautiful because you're trying it. You're doing your personal best. So now we're pressing down heavy and hard to get thick, rich color. I'm using my little finger because it's clean, and I just want to do some rubbing of the black lines. Rub them in the direction that you've drawn them. You're not just rubbing any old place like Scribble Scrabble. You're following the lines to blend the colors. I'm thinking maybe I'm going to add another color over the blue. You can blend colors also by layering them and rubbing them. Here's some student work, and they spent more time to fill in the background. Aren't they beautiful? Part 2 is to try this project of the butterfly symmetrical drawing with permanent pen. Try and get the wings to touch each side of the paper. We don't want a little tiny one. We want it big enough that we can fit the design in. So today when you're doing your finger tracing, finger measurement as your preparation before you start with the pen or the paint, do this finger visualization, plan your space, and plan on trying to get the wings to touch each side of the paper. Relax. If you get a line in the wrong place, we're just trying the materials. Everything we do is practice. We're just going to try it and finish it. I'm starting this drawing the same way as the other, finger tracing, finger measurement, but I can't use a light color because I'm using a permanent pen. So instead I started with a regular pen, then I went on to the fine point permanent pen, Then I switched over to a pen I like that has a flashlight at the end. And so I'm going to be switching between pens. Starting out light, I have a lot of extra lines. I'm okay with that. So I'm switching over to the chunkier pen once I know my shape, and I'm going to correct myself with this thick pen. I love this chunky pen. And also because it's so great at doing different types of lines. When I know where I'm going, I can start really filling in and committing to the shape. You still can correct yourself by how you color things in. If you turn this pen one way, it makes a thin line, and if you tip it the other way, it makes a thicker line. If you're using a permanent pen, you can add the colored markers to it later on, and you can spray it with water or paint water on it with a brush. And this works because the permanent pen stays still. If you used a regular black marker, that wouldn't work because it would dissolve. I don't want to trace over all of my lines with the thick pen. I think it looks really beautiful when you have some very fine lines, some thick lines. Look at your photograph of the butterfly, because I think the lines vary in width. Some are thick, some are thin. I was getting tired of the black lines. I just didn't feel like I could concentrate to finish the other side right then. So I'm taking a break and going on to color. I can always come back and add more, but I do kind of like it when everything is not always finished the same from side to side. So I'm going to go ahead and color in and see how it looks. I might come back to it. I might leave it partially colored. I think the next step is I'm going to spray it with some water to dissolve those markers into watercolor paint and see what happens. I'm pretty happy with it just like this. I think I'm going to let it be. Here's some student works in permanent pen. And then they added in the markers and sprayed it with water to dissolve the markers into watercolor paint. Some of our past projects, we looked at a portion of a butterfly wing and enlarged it so that it almost looked abstract. We pressed down very hard to get that thick, rich color, and black was always last. Thanks for joining me today. Thanks for trying it, and thanks for finishing it. I look forward to seeing you next time. It's just about time for our closing ceremony, so join in and follow along. This video was made with help from my grandchildren, Morgan and Josephine, otherwise known as Mojo.